Hello, welcome back to the Harmony Inspired Health podcast. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Vaidya Meenakshi Gupta, a leading Ayurveda expert with over 25 years of clinical experience. As the founder of Roots Ayurveda Wellness Center and vice president of the American Association of Ayurvedic Professionals, she is an internationally recognized teacher and practitioner, an international award winner, and an ambassador of Ayurveda in the West. And in today's episode, we will be focusing on how Ayurveda can support individuals with ADHD and autism. We'll also touch briefly on Ayurvedic preconception care and its role in preventing mental health challenges in children. So, for anyone seeking natural approaches to managing ADHD, autism, or even improving cognitive health in general, this episode will provide actionable insights and Ayurvedic wisdom. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Harmony. Namaskar to you and to your audience. It's a pleasure to have here.
Thank you, Namaskar. I am really excited to be talking about this topic. I think, especially at the moment, I am hearing so many women in the entrepreneurial world. And as a health practitioner, you kind of slip into that world, saying that as adults, they are being diagnosed with ADHD. And so I'm finding this fascinating. And from an Ayurvedic lens, it is a lot different to, I guess, how they are talking about their diagnosis. So I'm really excited to jump into this. But to start, can you briefly explain how Ayurveda views the importance of preconception care in terms of mental and cognitive health for future children?
Yeah, definitely. So in Ayurveda, the preconception care has been mentioned to have a healthy pregnancy. So there are few factors in Ayurveda which has been mentioned for the responsible for the formation of the fetus, and those four factors we call it as a four factors. It's the season pertaining towards the woman's period of ovulation, as well as the age factor also plays an important role. Then comes the kshetra. Kshetra means a uterus where the implantation happens. And then the rasadhatu formed by the digestive food means all the nutrition which is responsible to nourish the uterus, to nourish the placenta and the fetus and the mother. That also plays an important role. And then the final factor plays an important role is bija. Bij here, it means the seed. What are the seeds? Ovum and sperm. Both plays an important role. So all these four factors, when we talk about when it comes to the preconception, we say that all these four factors are very, very important. And along with that, there is an importance of 6 procreative factors, which we call it as a Shad Garbhakar Bhavas. So Shada means a 6, Garbhakar means procreative factors. And that is pertaining towards maternal factor, paternal factor, also related to conscious mind, nutrition factor, and also the wholesomeness. That also plays an important role. And then comes the Sattva, which means the sight, the mind. And the cluster of these procreative factor is must for healthy pregnancy. So you can see that all these concepts are always present in the modern science, Western science, as well as in Ayurveda. So the physical, mental, social, spiritual well-being of the person, proper nutrition of the mother during the pregnancy, and practice of wholesome regimen, those all factor plays an important role in achieving a healthy offspring. If you see the matraj and pitraj, means the maternal and paternal factors, and all those factors are assigned with a certain organogenesis, functional psychological phenomena to develop the baby during the intrauterine life. So when the diet is healthy, when all the mental factors for both the parents are healthy, then you will get the proper physical, functional, physiological, healthy pregnancy. And a lack in any part of these factors can lead to different type of imbalances, which can lead to physical defects or the functional defects or the psychological defects, which can contribute towards the in modern science you can say that genetic factor plays an important role, which leads to the maternal factors, various maternal factors. We say that the age as well as the chromosomes, genes, all plays an important role. And Ayurveda has already said that the procreative factors are important. If we take care of those procreative factors, then we can achieve the healthy pregnancy.
Mm. And all of these factors contribute to the child or the child's prakriti, right? So
Correct, correct.
yes, and
So, yes, go ahead, please.
oh yeah, I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and maybe just explaining. I know a lot of my listeners understand what Prakriti is, but a lot of them may not. So if you could just explain what Prakriti is and then how that contributes to that child's Prakriti.
Yes. So the Prakriti in Ayurveda is based upon the 5 elements. In Ayurveda, we see that every living organism is made up of 5 elements, and those 5 elements are air, space, ether, fire, water, and earth. At the time of conception, when mother conceives the baby, based upon parents' diet, lifestyle, stress factor, as well as time of conception, place of conception, everything plays an important role. How these 5 factors are going to be contribute towards and in which proportion they are going to combine. When they combine, it leads to three type of forces, which is Vata, combination of air and space, Pitta, which is a combination of water and earth, Kapha, which is a combination of the Pitta is a combination of fire and water, Kapha is the combination of water and earth. All three are always present, but based upon the combination of all those 5 elements, in what proportion either one can get dominant, two can get dominant, and three can get dominant. And based upon the dominancy, we have 7 types of physical body types in Ayurveda. For example, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, Vata, Pitta, Vata, Kapha, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. All 7 types are present. And that also determined based upon other factors like diet and all. It also depends, it also lead to the 3 types of gunas, which is related to psych. Sattva, Raja, Tama. Sattvic is the purest form of the mind, and Raja and Tamam is considered as a dosha of the mind. Physical doshas are consistent throughout the life at the time of conception till death. Nobody can change that. But mental gunas, based upon our conduct, based upon how mindful we are, that can be changeable. And that's how Prakriti works. Now, when it comes to the intellect in the fetus, so if we see that the human birth is a rare privilege, I always say that only the man has the possibility of living conscious, awake, controlled life. And all these things may not happen without the presence of manas bhav, which is called as a psyche. And the factors that determine the different psychological factors are in the children, or in other words, the state of mental faculty of the child are the mental faculty or the psychosomatic temperaments of the parents. So there are various traits of parents which can lead to the mental trait of the child also. Milieu means the environment in which the pregnant woman lives and the impression received by the pregnant woman during pregnancy also impact the child's psyche. The sattva, we spoke about sattva, raja, tamam. The sattva of the fetus is modulated mainly by the 3 factors. Sattva of parents means genetic derivatives of the psyche. Garbhani uprajati karma means gestation derivatives, whatever we are doing during the pregnancy as a female, that also impacts the fetus side. And then the environmental derivatives. All these three factors are very, very important in building how the child's psychology will be. We see that there are various examples. We see that recent research. I was reading one of the articles few years back. So there is a recent research suggests that antenatal stress or the anxiety means the stress during the pregnancy as well as the anxiety can affect as early as an 18-week of pregnancy, has a programming effect on the fetus, which can last at least until middle childhood and can show up as a behavioral problem. And those behavioral problems are directly linked to dyslexia, hyperactivity, ADHD, and other psychological effects. And then also there's one study has been done where the maternal and the fetal level of stress hormone cortisol, when they measure, it was correlated. And in Ayurveda, we always say that the various mental trait of the parents, which is responsible for the psychological buildup of the children. So it's very, very important that we keep the mother happy during the pregnancy. But before the pregnancy also, we should make efforts of having both the parents cleanse themselves and go through the various process of preconception rituals, which plays an important role in building healthy, physically healthy and mental healthy child.
So with all of that in mind, you mentioned preconception rituals. So can you give us an example of what these look like from an Ayurvedic perspective?
So there are various preconceptual rituals out there. For example, we say that before you go into the pregnancy, it is always good to start with a clean slate. So there the Panchkarma also plays an important role. You alter the diet, go through the detoxification or bio-cleansing modalities, which helps in cleansing both the parents, mom and dad. And then you follow the rituals like you want to have the calming effect on the mind. Then there, even the clothing, bedding color, everything has been mentioned in Ayurveda. There are certain rituals regarding that the incorporating white color in your day-to-day activity, like food also, clothing also, because white is related to the calmness and also related to the cooling effect, which both need, and it enhances the sperm quality as well as the ovum quality can be done. And also during the third month, there is a one after conception also, then the third month, there is a ritual of Punsavan Sanskar. And there has been a lot of studies has been done and going on. Mostly people think that the Punsavan Sanskar is able to alter the sex of the child. If they want the male child, then they have to do certain things. But if they want the female child, they have to do the certain things. But also, if you see that genetic modification as per Vedic science and in the mythology, if you see a lot of genetic modification references has been done when during the third month, before the completion of third month, that also has been suggested. So whatever the ritual one person can follow, that can contribute towards the proper healthy pregnancy. You're on mute.
Thank you. My dog started barking in the background before, so I muted myself. Thank you. That was so beautifully explained. And as I mentioned at the start of the podcast, that Western medicine and Ayurveda, they see ADHD and autism differently. So how does Ayurveda view these conditions and how does it approach treatment?
So in Ayurveda, we say that Vata is, the doshas plays an important role when it comes to the ADHD. In Western medicine, we have DSM-4 criteria. Under that criteria, the three normal neurobehavioral markations are attention deficient, means the inattention, difficulty controlling impulses, and hyperactivity. These are the three classical things. And then the DSM-4 criteria, under that there is a rating which gives the diagnosis of ADHD or ADD. Common complaints, if you see, as per Western, it is like a child doesn't listen, daydreaming, always have a lack of focus, easily distracted, need constant supervision. And sometimes it is also, they don't have the patience to wait for certain things. And they always keep on interrupting. So those are the common complaints you see. And then hyperactivity, when it comes to that, they cannot sit still. There is always a movement. So if you see these three common traits, in Ayurveda, if you want to correlate, what is moving always? Who has the tendency to move? It is the Vata. So there comes place and Vata. It is an important point to note that Vata plays an important role in ADHD. So what happened in ADHD? When there is a impairment of, we call it as a Dhi, Triti, Samriti. Dhi means the intellect, rational thinking. Dhriti is the retaining power of the mind. Samriti is the memory. This causes the abnormal conduct, which results in improper contact of the senses with their objectives. And that leads to the same three symptoms as per the Western medication: inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. So lack of concentration, poor focus, learning disability, hyperactivity, all these comes under the ADHD as per Ayurveda. Ayurveda does not have as such any definition for the ADHD. It is just the understanding of Ayurveda pathophysiology. We can say that the ADHD happens because of vitiation of Dhi, understanding, Dhriti, retaining power, Smriti, memory, which cause abnormal conduct, and that causes all the three symptoms. So that's how in Ayurveda we explain the ADHD.
Thank you. And so from an Ayurvedic perspective, how are you being able to effectively support the cognition of the children or the adults who have been diagnosed with ADHD or autism?
So in Ayurveda, we say that when we talk about the doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, all three are always important in shaping physical, mental, emotional health. Imbalance in these doshas can contribute towards the ADHD. So as I said earlier, that ADHD is directly related to Vata dosha. Sometimes it can be combined with the Pitta dosha also and the Kapha dosha also. But rarely, very rare, we see the Kapha dosha involved. Vata Pitta is the main doshas which is involved. So when we see these issues, we always suggest the diet, which is Vata pacifying, doing the gentle meditation, mindfulness techniques like yoga, Tai Chi is very good for the kids. If they have a lot of energy, even the martial arts, we say that can be help in releasing that energy, and that can also helps with calming the mind. Then the Abhyanga, I cannot emphasize on this word Abhyanga, which is a self-massage with the warm oils. The kids which are having the ADHD, even the other ADD or even the autism, the grounding technique for the Vata is the body massage with the warm oil. And they can choose the sesame oil if the child is not allergic to sesame, or the coconut oil if there is more pitta involvement. That helps in calming the nervous system, grounding the vata, and that also helps in reducing the stress. And most of the time, that Abhyanga always activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and that helps itself in the sensory, soothing the sensory overload and help in the relaxation. Then the pranayam, breathing exercises, alternate nostril breathing, cooling breath also helps. As I said earlier, meditation, mindfulness, and daily routine also, wherever they can follow the daily routine. Because for Vata, the movement is one thing, physically and mentally. So routine is the key for the Vata balance. And if a parent can build a daily routine, I always teach them to build a daily routine, start from small, and that always helps with that. Fixed time for sleep, fixed time for meals, and then different exercises and the predictability, because all those kids, they thrive on the predictability. And then it becomes a balanced approach. And of course, there is a dietary adjustments, and some Ayurvedic herbs and herbal supplements also can be helpful.
Mm. So with the dietary adjustment, have you found it most useful to give the dietary advice as per the individual constitution? So if they're more of like a Vata type or Pitta type, you said Kapha is not usually the most dominant dosha in those people with ADHD, but is that how you're prescribing the diets?
Yes, if there is a Vata dominancy, for example, one is the doshas, which is from birth. And then there is a Vikruti. Vikruti means where the imbalance is. So not necessarily if the child is Vata, the imbalance would be only Vata. In ADHD, it can be Pitta also. So you do the food which is a Pitta pacifying. If it is a Vata aggravation, then you do the food which is a Vata aggravating. For example, for Vata, the characteristic of Vata is cooling in nature, dry in nature. So warm, nurturing, grounding foods like root vegetables. Ghee is very good for Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Soups, stews, rather than having the raw vegetables, cooked vegetables with little bit of spices like ginger powder, black pepper, long pepper. Those are the good to pacify Vata. But yes, loaded with the ghee, which is a clarified butter, or healthy oils can also be pacifying. For Pitta, we go for the cooling because Pitta's property is hot in nature, sharp in nature. So we go for the cooling, hydrating foods like seasonal fruits. If it is a summer season, you can go for cucumber, coconut water, saute steamed leafy greens that calms the fiery emotions. And then also you can include spices like fennel, which is very calming in nature for Pitta people. Those you can do. Also, if it is little older child where they are taking little coffee or other caffeine, reduce that. Processed food also, sugar also. Sugar always contribute towards the Vata aggravation, and that also can help in stabilizing the excessive energy associated with the ADHD.
Mm, absolutely. And I think you brought up a great point with sugar aggravating Vata. But there is a misconception, like in the world of Ayurveda or people who are quite new to it. When we talk about the tastes, we talk about the tastes that pacify the doshas, and the sweet taste is pacifying for Vata. But then the sugar taste of sugar actually can increase the Vata. So can you just differentiate the two there?
Yes, yes, I got it. So the sugar here, I'm talking about the processed sugar like white cane sugar or any other type of sugar, or mostly we say that even the coconut sugar, those are the sugar which we are talking about, which is bad for the Vata. But the pacifying sugar is root vegetables, healthy grains, starch, healthy carbs. Those are the pacifying Vata. So that's the difference between here. When we say that take the sugar more sugary in Ayurveda, that means always means not the sugar sweet in the form of cookies, cupcakes, or other sugars. It always means healthy grains, starchy vegetables, which helps in balancing vata, which are grounding.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for clearing that up. And the other thing I wanted to speak to you about I have found that the ADHD diagnosis is very, very prevalent here in the West. Why do you think it is so prevalent at the moment? Do you think that it's a true diagnosis from the prakriti and the cognition and the changes and all of those things that form that individual? Or do you think it's more of a case of perhaps it's not so much ADHD, but it's the fact that we're all overstimulated and we don't know how to practice those things like pratyahara and withdrawing the senses inwards. Rather, we're always constantly being overstimulated by our senses, and that's created stress and anxiety, which is now making us not function in our day-to-day life, which is now being diagnosed as adult ADHD. Can you speak on your interpretation of that and what you think that might be all about?
So just a little disclaimer that I'm not a medical doctor. I've
Yeah.
been trained in Ayurveda doctor in India, been in practice here. But I would say that I'll give you the example of my own daughter. She is 14-year-old. So last year, she was getting bored in the class, and that class, as per her, is constantly there was nothing to do. It was like teacher was giving lecture and they have to just take the notes, and that's it. No conversation as such. So few times she did distracted the class. That was her interpretation. But I received the email from the teacher. No, I didn't receive the email. The teacher called her one time and told her maybe it is a good idea to go and check for ADHD. First of all, my thing was she's not a medically trained to say even this. She should have got it to me. But long story short, as a mom, I knew that she doesn't have a ADHD. And we do proper assessment because my clinical study in Ayurveda in India during the MD was ADHD, learning disabilities with respect to bedwetting in children. So as a mom, I knew that this is a wrong label. My daughter was quite upset for almost 3-4 months, and that somehow she started questioning, do I have ADHD? So just to make her feel better, I took her for the proper evaluation, and she didn't fit in that criteria. So sometimes those things can also happen. And many times these kids have, previously, if I remember my childhood, we used to play outdoors a lot. In the street, all the kids will come and we used to play. And that was our way of de-stress ourselves, or you can say letting go of that high energy, which most of the kids have. And nowadays we have a busy schedule, and it's not a parent's fault, but we do have a busy schedule. And in the Western world, we don't go outdoor, maybe go to the park once a week, and that's it. Because after coming from school, they have the homework and so many other things. So I'm not saying there are kids who are having true ADHD, but sometimes it is the kids who get bored or they need to let go of that energy. That's where the martial arts, Tai Chi, all those practices sometimes help with the true or false, differentiate between the true or false ADHD. I hope
Yeah,
that answers the question.
yeah, absolutely. And I know for myself, like if I had to go back to the school structure and sit down all day and learn like lots of complex things to them and not moving enough, my vata, like my vata dosha, would be screaming out, and my pitta dosha as well. So I think some of these kids do very, very well to be like sitting for the amount of time that they're sitting. And it's not just the fact that they can't sit there for, a couple of subjects. It's the fact that they actually do need to move, and that's healthy for us.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and insights into ADHD because it is such an interesting topic and I think very relevant today. What long-term changes have you seen in individuals with ADHD or autism after following an Ayurvedic regime? Do you have any success stories or case studies that you can share with us so we can see how you put it all together?
Yes, I have a couple of, I have many stories, but I would always give an example of two brothers.
Mhm.
Um, One was completely Vata dominant and another was Pitta dominant. So that is the difference between, and the age gap was 8 years. When I started seeing the older brother, the grades were almost kind of like a failing. And there were a lot of complaints from the school. We started altering the diet first couple of weeks. And then I asked parents to bring him for the Shirodhara. Shirodhara is pouring a warm liquid on your forehead. It can be done with the milk decoction of herbs. It can be done with the oils. It can be done with the decoction of herbs only. So since it is a kid, we always do for the kids mostly most of the time with the milk and decoction of herb. That was my clinical research was also on Kshiridhara. Kshir means milk and dhara means continuous pouring. So we started that, and within a 3 months, it was every week, once a week, and started few Ayurvedic supplements also. And we got good results where he was completely off the chart. And then he started picking up, no complaints from the school, much calmer. And I saw him approximately till the 1.5 year. And then gradually we wean him from the Kshiradhara also. And then after 5, or I would say, when I saw that kiddo, he was 6 year old. And after 4 year or 5 year, after his treatment, parents got the younger one also. The difference between the Pitta and Vata was it took me 3 months even to start the Shirodhara because he used to get so aggressive, not on the table for the Shirodhara also. 5 minutes and we are done. So, but a lot of patience at the level of parents, I would say, I give all the credits to parents who used to bring him. And after 3 months, first time when we did the Kshiradhara for 45 minutes, we all were so happy. And then he started picking up. And now the older one is, I believe, is 18-year-old, and the younger one is 12, 12 or 10-year-old, 10 year, because both the boys are 8 year apart and no complaints. So we saw the good results in that. Yes, the diet plays an important role. Certain techniques which I told the parents also, and we did the nasyam also
Mhm.
with the Brahmi Ghritam. We use the nasyam and the Shirodhara. Nasyam parents used to do, and we got really good results with that.
Wow. And so was the nausea oil medicated, herbal medicated nausea?
Yes, it was
Okay.
with the Brahmi Ghritam. Brahmi is a nootropic herb which works on the mind.
Mhm.
Bacopa manieri,
Yeah.
and we did with that, and that was wonderful effects.
Hmm. And even with herbal prescription, I understand that it's as per individual constitution. But is there specific herbs that you've used quite often that have been really beneficial with ADHD?
So yes, you are right that normally the herbal herbs are always based upon the individual constitution. But no matter what the constitution is, for the mind, we always, especially for the ADHD, we always choose the herbs which has bitter taste, sweet taste, and astringent. And I'll tell you why we choose that. Bitter taste is predominant in, um, we call it as ether, Akash Mahabhut. We talked about the 5 elements, right? One was the space. So it is predominant in the space and it is very light. So that means if it is a light, it is predominant in space, it increases the sattva of mind, means the purity of mind. Now comes to the astringent taste that has predominancy of air element, and also it is light. Now you will think about why it is, if it is air element and light, it is going to increase the vata. Most of the people, they think, but that also increases the sattvic property of mind. How it increases? Because it works opposite of the movement. So one of the astringent taste main function here, it is, we call it as a vachan nigrahanti, means it helps to decrease the talkativeness of that child. Most of the time, ADHD or any, even in the autistic kids, sometimes they talk a lot because they can't control their thoughts, or it is a hyperactivity. So the astringent taste helps with that. Now, then the third taste we use is sweet taste, madhur. That is predominant in earth element. And it is moisture, it contains little moisture also, heavy to digest. That means all these three qualities will help in increasing the intellectual property. And that it happens by improving the cellular nourishment because of the guru guna, heavy, and the moisture in that. You can call it as a unctuous property, and the guru guna, heaviness, leads to the cellular nourishment, and that's how it improves the intellectual property. And those three mode of actions are always present most of the nootropic adaptogen herbs. So you cannot go wrong with the Brahmi or the ashwagandha or even licorice. Licorice works also very good. And then there is a Centella asiatica also works very well. And valerian also. Ashwagandha, everybody knows that. So all these herbs, you cannot go wrong with that. But yes, it has to be according to constitution, the place and the child age. And if there is any other contraindication, if any other health concerns, you can choose the herbs according to that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This has been so interesting. I love geeking out on all things Ayurveda and how it really can be blended with even like the Western sciences. It's just, yeah, so amazing and mind-blowing. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom. Do you have any other words that you would like to share with the listeners in relationship to ADHD or autism and how Ayurveda can support them?
So most of the time, I would say the last thing is many times I see if the adult has the ADD and they want to conceive, they are always have a question that would my child get my ADD or ADHD? So I always suggest them go for the Panchkarma, alter your diet, go for more sattvic, pure diet, and also all these practices of Abhyanga, Nasyam, Shirodhara for themselves and for the father also. Both the parents should go through that, and meditative practices also. And those are the practices which can help in cleansing the body, calming the mind, and then you, with the pure heart or the positive affirmation, go for the pregnancy. And that always helps in having the healthy pregnancy. So that always one can adapt. And if in case your audience needs more on the preconception ritual, I can forward it to you. You can share with your audience.
Thank you so much. And where can my audience find you if they do want to work with you and learn more about Ayurveda to support ADHD?
So they can reach out to me at my email as well as through my website. My website is www.ayurroots.com. It's AYURROOTS.com. Or you can write it to me, Meenakshi at ayurroots.com. It's MEENAKSHI @AYURROOTS.com.
Wonderful. And I'll put the link in the show notes as well so they can click straight over. Thank you so much. I really appreciated your time today.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to talk to you regarding all these factors which can help somebody with the ADHD or with the pre pregnancy rituals.